The Joint Forces Command, as some might know, is the American military's war game facilitator. And in 2000, they created a simulation to prepare our armed services for the escalating tensions in the Middle East. It was known as the Millennium Challenge, and the premise centered upon the emergence of a rogue Persian Gulf military commander who threatened to bring war to the region. In casting this rogue militant leader, the Joint Forces Command selected Lieutenant General Paul Van Riper, an experienced American military commander and former head of the Marine Corps University in Virginia. The teams were divided into the blue team, led by the American generals, and the red team, led by Van Riper. The blue team, again the American military, was testing a new warfare strategy. They believed that they could simplify the disengagement of an enemy through information technology. Due to this, at the blue team's disposal was an unmatched amount of intelligence, which would analyze any situation, then come up with the most effective solution. In the blue team's mind, this comprehensive data would ultimately take the uncertainty out of war. On the other side, the red team, who had a limited supply of weapons and technological advancements, was guided strictly by Van Riper's belief that rational analysis in unpredictable circumstances such as war made absolutely no sense. The games opened with the blue team acting in accordance with their computer configurations. They put tens of thousands of troops in this imaginary area, isolated this fabricated country with a group of aircraft carriers just off of its coast, then knocked out the country's communication towers. Confident by the red team's weakened state and the computer's predictions of the red team's likely next move, the blue team offered Van Riper's team an ultimatum and demand a surrender. To the surprise of the military brass, the red team was not fazed. In fact, unbeknownst to the blue team, the red team would continue to communicate through messages hidden in prayers and motorcycle couriers. And then, on the simulation's next day, Van Riper placed a convoy of small boats in this area to monitor the blue team's naval advancements. Unexpectedly, Van Riper ordered an attack of the blue team with a barrage of missiles from all directions lasting about an hour. When the assault and the imaginary game concluded, 16 of the blue team ships would have been on the bottom of the Persian Gulf. And if it had been a real attack, over 20,000 military personnel would have perished. Shocking, right? The military brass provided many excuses for the red team's dominance, including that the win was due to the way the war games were run, as well as that the blue team ships would not have been as vulnerable as they were in the game. Yet no matter the reason, there was no denying the great failure of the blue team at that moment. For through Van Riper, we, alongside the military, learn a valuable lesson, that even with the most sophisticated access to information, we are still severely limited in knowing how the world and its people function. Knowledge is power is a phrase that has driven individuals and businesses to seek information for thousands of years. Understandably, this pursuit is much different today than it was centuries ago. The amount of information contained in 1 week of the New York Times is equivalent to the amount of knowledge someone in the 18th century was likely to have attained in their entire lifetime. Over the last 20 years, the accessibility of information has even surpassed this amazing statistic. Currently, mass amounts of data are available via the internet, cell phones, television, and radio to everyone at any time, allowing anyone to access facts, figures, opinions, beliefs, and more at the touch of a button. Simultaneously, and for mathematicians in the room, algorithms, mathematical equations that produce a list of outcomes, are created daily with the intention to give computers the ability to quickly predict tendencies in our economic, political, and social systems. Yet no matter how much knowledge these current technologies and algorithms seem to possess, they are limited, for they can never answer questions that rely on personal preference. While many might assume that modern technologies can accurately foresee outcomes, the reality is that we as human beings have something that these technologies cannot account for. We have free will. We choose what to do, where to do it, when to do it, why to do it, and how to do it. We decide who to like and sometimes who to dislike. We adapt for some things, and for other things we might not even dream of it. And even though our decisions might appear at times predictable or even ridiculous, another individual or a computer cannot with certainty know our ultimate decision that we will give at any given moment. I talked about this before. Our Torah portion this week, Bahar, decrees and emphasizes the presence of free will in our lives. In Leviticus 25:10, it states in Hebrew, Ukratem devor ba'aretz l'chol yoshveha. Proclaim liberty throughout the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. Gracing our nation's Liberty Bell, this phrase is not a prediction of what could have been, but rather declares the reality of what is. However, while we do have the freedom to make decisions, our choices are not made in a vacuum. The choices we make can have great effect or cause significant consequences in our world. Thus, while we might be given free will, on this Shabbat I conclude with a question, or with three questions rather than an answer. What positive choices will we make with free will? What positions are we willing to stand for knowing we have free will? And with free will, what impact do we hope to hand over to those we care for and those that care about us? Shabbat Shalom.